Hey guys, it's Dom from Sounds Magazine giving you a whole year. I just had a wonderful chat with Ben from the Battery Farm about his wrestling, dream feuds, who he would soundtrack if you could take a Battery Farm tune and put it on a current day wrestler. We talked about the new EP they're about to launch, live shows, and so much more. It was much deeper than I originally thought it was going to be, and so much cooler than I originally thought it was going to be. I love this band, such visceral intensity, so I hope you enjoy this and check the band out, and we'll see you soon. Cheers. Cool, man. So Ben from the Battery Farm, mate, welcome. It's a pleasure to have you here, man. Real excited by your sound. I discovered you, I think, a while ago, but then I rediscovered you more recently, and I was like, I had like Roy Keane Isn't Real in my headphones. And I was just sitting there on my desk, probably setting up for a 1 a.m. like AEW live stream or something.
Yeah.
Just like, let's go. As you can imagine, like doing a Monday Night Raw, on a Monday night at 1 a.m. is not something to be excited about. So I just remember you helped me through that time. Very difficult.
I'm glad. Late night conspiracy theories during the wrestling are always the best conspiracy theories.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. So yeah, I mean, that was again just such a cool sound. Very, very intense. You've obviously got a new EP coming out as well. You've got loads going on. So tell me about the sort of origins of the Battery Farm, how you found your sound, what you wanted to achieve when you first started out, and where you're at with that now.
Yeah. Okay. So the Battery Farm actually came out of the ashes of a band that me and my brother were in. So me and my brother Dom are the singer and guitarist respectively in the Battery Farm. And it came out of the ashes of our old band. We were in a band together for 8 years, and it sort of failed. Not failed, but it split up in kind of a really ugly way that brought with it a load of really bad mental health issues and sort of left us both in a bit of a mess personally. And we left music entirely for just a few months, just sort of let the whole thing sit for a few months, and sort of got back together and started writing a bit again. And what we found we were doing was reacting simultaneously in the stuff we were writing to what we felt was our lives closing in on us, and what we felt was our sort of whole world crashing down and life suffocating us a little bit. So the Battery Farm, first as a name, was originally born out of that sort of feeling, and ultimately that was what we were naturally trying to express with that first wave of songs. It was written out of desperation. It was created out of as a sort of lashing out and as a kickback against a life that we felt was sort of sputtering out simultaneously for the two of us. And yeah, we've put the band together. We got Paul and Sam in. It was a sort of gradual process, getting people in to help us sort of realize this, because we didn't know whether we actually wanted to go and do it. But in terms of the sound, it really just, as it sort of always has done for us, came really naturally. It's a lot heavier than the stuff we were doing previously in our old band, the Madding Crowd. It's a lot more intense, and it's a lot more visceral, and it's a lot more real. I think it's a lot more guttural, and that just came naturally because of the way we were feeling at that point. It was literally just an expression of sort of that desperation. And so, in terms of where we're at with it now, I think that sort of fire has carried on through, but it's more expansive now. We're in different places in our lives. We're a lot happier, obviously. We're a lot more fulfilled. We're enjoying sort of creating a lot more, which is important, because at the end of the old band, we weren't enjoying anything, and it was horrific. Yeah, it's horrible. So that has fed into sort of an expansion of the sound, and we released our first EP at the end of last year during the autumn winter lockdown. I think it was last November, which is a full on sort of. It's basically it's a heavy sort of punk EP, and it's easy classifiable, but at the same time, there's a rawness about it that you don't necessarily get from everyone. But that sort of our experiences over the last year have led into a more expansive sound, as I mentioned, for the new EP, and we've sort of pulled it back almost a little bit and taken stock and really tried to add a few more things and a few more different influences into it. So a little bit more not theatrical. It's a little bit more sort of vaudevillian, if I can use that word. A little bit more expansive, and just a little bit more melancholy rather than angry, I think. So it's exciting.
Yeah, man. So is it like what I'm hearing? Is it like a bit of catharsis for you? Like the band's always been a way for you to get certain things out, and your brother as well. But like, is that what the band is for you? Does it succeed in doing that for you? Can you go in? Can you go into a gig, play a show, and feel? Do you feel like relief after it? Do you feel like relief after recording? Is that what the band is for you?
Yeah, because it's an exorcism ultimately. If you ever see us live, we're very expressive, shall we say, and we end up all over the fucking place. And it is sort of a cathartic thing for me, and it always has been. Everything I do and everything I create is created out of a gut reaction, and it's created out of reality. And we try and put that into every single thing we do, and it does help with sort of various mental health issues or various personal issues you may be having at any given moment. It helps with that, and it's a real outlet. And at the same time as well, at the end of a gig, you feel like you bloody achieved something, and obviously that's a really nice feeling as well. So yeah, in terms of what drives us, I think ultimately it is that sense of catharsis and that sense of being able to have something to put all of the poison into, for want of a better phrase.
And in terms of obviously the new EP, Den's March Suffering, I love the name. Wicked name. In terms of themes and stuff on that, again, from what I've been reading, a lot of stuff around mental health, a lot of stuff around, again, getting, just kind of freeing up. There is that, sort of similar language around like exorcism, stuff like that, which I really think is cool. Is there any kind of main themes on that for you and the band? I know you can't just necessarily speak for the rest of the guys, but for you yourself, what does it mean to you?
So Dirty Den's March of Suffering, it's basically the whole EP is sort of about the moment. It's going to sound so pretentious, this, but I don't care. It's about the moment of death itself. And not in a sort of maudlin or mawkish way or any kind of pornographic way. I wanted it to be about. I got to thinking about like what happens in the split second before you die. Does everything? We've got a track on there called "I've Never Been Forgotten," and it's about obviously not having ever been. I've literally never been forgotten in West Manchester, and it's like I put that in there because it was like, do you think about stupid mundane shit like that, and I actually, instead of it being this big profound thing, do you just sort of reflect on the daft things in your life, like the little things you never did, or the the play you didn't write, or the fucking washing you didn't do last night, and stuff like that. So I wanted to reflect on all sides of it. Obviously, there's stuff in there about the heavier side of it, like the sort of relief that death can. I would imagine. Obviously, I don't know. None of us know what the relief that it can come as, depending on your situation, the loneliness of it. And also on the flip side of it, the sort of familiarity of it, the communal belonging that it brings out in people, and the sense of community that it brings out in people. So we're trying to cover all sides of that one split second. That it's a big ask in 5 tracks, and I don't know whether we've done it. But all we're really trying to do is articulate what we feel about that one split second before you die, no matter what the situation is. That one split second, we're trying to articulate that in our voice, and we're not trying to do anything else.
I like it, man. Again, it's something that fascinates a lot of people. Clearly, it's interesting to you, and I'm looking forward to seeing if you accomplish that on the EP for sure.
Me too.
I'm excited too. So a couple more questions on the music side before we move on to the wrestling. I watched a couple of the videos you've done. The Whip Goes Crack is the one you released most recently. Obviously, Keane isn't real, just because that was like a complete banger. But yeah, like, do you put any weight on? I've got to be careful how I ask this. Do you put any weight on the visual aspect of the band? Because again, like I say, there seems to be quite a strong visual element in terms of, it's like, again, that intensity comes across in the visual side of the band. And I wonder, do you put any weight on that at all?
Yeah, I think it's important to, like, obviously each to their own and sort of live and let live. But I always think it's a bit of a shame when bands sort of say, "Oh, it's not about the image," or artists sort of say, "Oh, it's just about the music, man," or whatever. There's so many. One of the most brilliant things about being in a band and being an artist for me is the breadth of things that you can explore and the amount of things that you can actually do to back up your art and to back up your message and to back up overused word alert to back up your aesthetic. you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the music videos are a massively important part of that to me. Everything we do is almost like we try and create a little universe with every sort of release we do. We're relentlessly conceptual bastards, and I think it sort of shows. So in music videos, in the pictures that in just the band photos that we do, we never just want to do like us stood in front of a brutalist structure or anything like that. Everything we do in them is very deliberate and very part of an idea and a universe that we're creating. And you can even for Dirty Den's March of Suffering, for the EP launch that we're doing at Gulliver's, we're trying to create Awake. Basically, we're trying to turn the room into Awake, similar to what's in the When the Wick Goes Crack video. So we've got all these props and decorations and stuff that we're going to try and do, and splicing those soap characters into it, obviously. And then we're selling with the vinyl of the EP. Me and Don have done a book of short stories.
Yeah, the Dirty Book, right?
The Dirty Book, yeah.
Cool.
So we've done a little book of short stories to go with that, and I just think all that is really important, and there's so much to explore. And on the flip side of that, people might say that you're trying too hard, or that you're losing focus on the actual music. But I think all of it comes as one thing to me, and I don't think, unless you're doing it badly, which I don't think we are yet. Unless you're doing it badly, I don't think you can try too hard on that stuff. Just like for me, I'll go for it with everything and try and flesh it out with every little medium that I can do it in.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. Again, I'm really excited by the aesthetic of what you do, and I think there's a lot to be proud of there with what you've achieved so far. So I do wish you the best of luck with it, man. It's exciting. I can't wait to see you guys live properly. One of the things, quickly, I do want to ask you on music related. One of the things that I do sort of as part of my sort of day work is working with young people and talking to young musicians, and they sort of ask, and they come from all over the country, or it could be in whatever setting, and they've sort of said to me, "Oh, well, I want to do this. I want to tour. I want to do a music video. I want to, play this massive venue or whatever." Now, success means different things to different people. And they go, "Oh, they might look at the Battery Farm, they might look at what you've achieved. You've got your launch coming up at Gulliver's, you've been able to play some shows, you've got a vinyl coming out, that's pretty cool." But a lot of people go, "Oh, well, I'm never going to do that. I'm never going to be in a band that's able to do that." Now, you've just told me you've been through a lot of we try not to swear too much, but a lot of shit with the Battery Farm. And so I wanted to ask you about your definition of success, what it means to you as an artist, and how maybe that's changed over the course of your career as a musician, and just your opinion on success personally, really.
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. My opinion on success was almost materialistic. It was put everything you have into. It was your band is 24/7 and put everything you have to it into it at all costs. And I think that was what contributed to the downfall of it, because that makes you very unhappy. So for me, what success is now, especially I've been in bands for 15 years or longer than that, actually 17 years now, and you see a lot. And I think when you get to sort of the point that I'm at now, you get almost not tired, but you get almost like, I'm trying to think of the word. You don't feel the need to go out of your way as much anymore. You feel a lot more satisfied. So the short answer is, to me, success is happiness. Success is being happy in what you're creating. It's being happy in the work that you're doing. It's being satisfied that the work you're doing is true to you. It sounds really hokey, this, but like that is just what it is. I, a long time ago, well, a couple of years ago, figured out that in order to have any sort of sustainable career in this, and sustainable, not even a career, but in order to do this in any sort of sustainable way, I had to focus on myself and putting my health first and being happy first. And making sure that everyone involved in it was happy as well. And I think that's the main thing. To me, success is happiness. And the advice that I would give is not to cripple yourself for anything. Nothing is. Everything can wait. You know what I mean? Everything can wait a day.
Yeah.
And you get people who say, "Oh yeah, you got to seize the day, opportunities now," or whatever. And I think that's such a Thatcherite capitalistic way of looking at it. The most important thing is to focus, is to approach your art from a human perspective, to make sure you're healthy, to make sure you're happy, and to not let anyone fuck you about. Basically, oh sorry,
It's all right, don't worry, man. You're okay.
I was swearing. I've been swearing all over this the entire time.
So I didn't give you any warning. I should have warned you. It's my fault. My fault. But yeah, I mean, as an extent, as an extension of that, and this is the test of that. I don't normally ask this question directly after, but I'm going to ask you again. Looking at the image of the band and looking at what you. Would you say you're a happy person with what you've achieved? I don't mean to put you on the spot. I'm just interested.
Well, I know I'm not, but it's not because of any sort of bitterness or anything like that, and it's not because I'm not happy with what I've got in my life.
Yeah,
I'm not happy because I'm ill.
Yeah,
that's it. I have clinical depression that's never going to go away.
Yeah,
it's only manageable. So in a very literal sense, no, I'm not happy because every day is a fucking struggle, to be honest.
I respect that.
But at the same time, outside of that, I think I'm an optimistic person. I wouldn't be doing this, and I wouldn't have carried on doing it for the years that I have if I wasn't. So I guess that's the answer, really. I'm not happy in a typical sense, but I'm optimistic, and I love my life.
That's awesome, man. And I think that love comes through in the sort of energy and aggression you put into the music. Obviously, you mentioned a little bit off record about your family and stuff, and I think that's lovely that you've got those inspirations there. And I think it would be a shame to not ask. Again, I know I'm extending this away from wrestling, and we will come back to the wrestling. But one of the other parts of my day job is working with kids with depression, anxiety, and a range of mental health issues. Now, they go, oh well, Ben's done this, Ben's done that, I'm not going to do that. And how do I get there? How do I get to where Ben is? And again, that comes back to that success. And they say sometimes they don't want to get out of bed in the morning and they're not sure how to do that. And I wanted to ask you, Ben, what is it that gets you out of bed in the morning? When you're having a really rough day, when you don't want to get out of bed, you might have played a banging show in Manchester or wherever the night before. You might have just watched, CM Punk's return in AEW. Right, but then you're struggling in the morning to get out of bed, right? What is it that gets you up? What is it that gets you motivated? Is there anything that you use or coping mechanisms, for example, quote unquote, that you use that might resonate with other people?
So my family gets me out of bed. Sort of the reason that I get out of bed in the morning, knowing that I have an opportunity to create or not, but knowing that the opportunity is there and there's a day before me and it's there. That's the coping mechanism I have, and that doesn't work for everyone because it can be overwhelming for people. I think that, but knowing that there's a day before me and treating it like a blank slate. Obviously, you have work and things like that, and you have things to fill the hours, but at the same time, I try and treat it like as much of a blank slate as possible and say, okay, what am I gonna do with today? And if it's nothing, that's fine too. I try and be as I try and be as kind to myself as possible. So I think ultimately, on those days, look on those days, there's nothing wrong with sort of sitting back and not being in bed. Like, you shouldn't beat yourself up about that, but you can't. There's a fine line between that and letting it consume you. And I think one of the coping mechanisms that I've got against letting it consume me is that blank slate idea, just to keep thinking about the things that wouldn't get done, the things that would be missed out on. I keep that at the forefront of my mind all the time. The lives that wouldn't be lived if I was, like, let's be blunt about this, if I was dead or something like that. So that's the coping mechanism for me, trying to keep joy at the forefront of my mind, trying to keep the things that I would miss out on at the forefront of my mind, because the anticipation of those things are the things that sort of give me joy, and working towards those things are the things that give me joy. And obviously that doesn't work for everyone, and it can be very hard to do that on certain days, certainly when you're feeling really, really lethargic. But that's the sort of system that I've developed to work through that, and it's successful more often than not.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Look at what you've achieved. Again, family. You've also got your EP coming out as well. You know, there's a lot there, and this is for me as an outsider. But like, again, man, like my interaction with the Battery Farm, when I first heard your stuff, it blew my fucking mind, man. I was like, because I love Manchester, I could, spend a lot of time there, but rarely I feel like if I see you live, I'm going to be engaged every second. Part of my job is to document, social media, photos, all that stuff. But I feel like you'd be the type of band and the type of, the type of show where you couldn't take your eyes off you. And I think that's something special. You know what I mean? When you can build something, and again, you're talking about your EP launch, this whole visual side of it, the imagery which we discussed, when you can build something that you believe in and that you put your heart and soul into, and that, touches, with maybe the wrong word, when it impacts other people, and they're like, this is fucking great. I remember when I first listened to your stuff, I was just like, this is fucking awesome. Like, it sounds real weird.
Thank you so much. But that's wonderful.
Do you know what I mean? It just it gets me going. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And so I am going to squeeze one more question in, because I do listen. One more music related question, and then we'll Roy Keane isn't real.
Yeah,
but it's got to be in my top tunes of the year, just because I was just like, it gets me up in the morning. It has done in the past when I've not, because I some similar issues there. Sometimes I don't want to get up. I have cerebral palsy, so my pain is quite intense.
Yeah.
It helps me through listening to your stuff and kind of visualizing what it's like to see a band like yourselves live.
Oh, thank you. That's wonderful to hear.
Thank you so much. Honestly, that that just the sound. I'm a big, I play drums. I'm a big fan of beats and stuff as well. So when you're listening to something, you're like, yes, I could. And that's what I get, not just from that track, but others. But what I wanted to ask you is, what does that mean? What does Roy Keane mean? What is it?
So I wrote it at the tail end of last year after the US elections happened. And obviously, there was a whole lot of talk about the election being stolen and all kinds of silly bollocks about with the alt-right and the far right, and the president himself pushing conspiracy theories and outright lies. So I just basically wanted to come up with the most ridiculous conspiracy theory I could think of, with also the most nonsensical logic behind it. So the idea of the song is that Roy Keane isn't real because I've never met him in real life, and so if I've never seen him, I've only ever seen him on TV. That could be an avatar or a deep fake or something like that. And that was it's just a piss take of that sort of way of thinking. And it's a comment on the easy proliferation of conspiracy theories and dangerous misinformation. Because obviously there's a very serious side to it, which we saw at the Capitol building, and which we've seen via QAnon and things like that. It's a critique of that. But also, I just wanted to sort of have a laugh with it as well.
Yeah, man. Yeah, absolutely, man. It seems like you guys have a lot of fun, and that comes across. And I think you can't buy that. You can't pay for that. There's a nice vibe around it. So
thank you.
Congratulations on building what you've done with the Battery Farm. And
thank you so much.
All right, let's do what we came here to do,
man. It's time for the main event.
Yeah, so let's do some quick fight. Like I say, go into as much or as little detail as you want.
Okay.
First question: How did you get into wrestling, Ben? What brought you into wrestling? Could take me back to the moment that you discovered wrestling. Where were you? What were you doing? Were you watching it on TV? What was the moment you discovered wrestling?
So it's a weird one. It was about the tail end of the Attitude Era, around January 2000. And I know it was January 2000 because the first wrestling show I ever watched was Sunday Night Heat on Channel 4. Kids in school had been wrestling was massive in school at the time, and I'd never watched it. And I was like, oh well, if everyone else is into wrestling, I'll have a look at it and see what's going on. And anyway, Sunday Night Heat was on Channel 4 at that point. Yeah. It was the go home heat before the Royal Rumble. So So there was a lot of focus on Cactus Jack and Triple H in the street
man.
fight.
Yeah.
And I remember I used to get my nan to tape Sunday Night Heat for me.
Me too.
Yeah, no way.
Nice.
Yeah, Channel 4. So we'd watch it at 4 o'clock, and then I'd have the tape to keep. And the episode that I watched had the Big Boss Man versus Prince Albert on it.
Nice, yeah.
And I think Bob Buchanan might have made his debut as well on that one.
Oh, cool.
But yeah, no. So that was the first wrestling show I ever watched, and from that point on, I absolutely loved it. When I was a kid, I could only watch Heat and sort of catch up on SmackDown on Saturdays on Sky One, because we didn't have Sky Sports or anything like that, so I couldn't really watch that much of it. I just sort of heard about it, and then I came back to it. This is digressing a bit, but
no, it's all good, man.
I came back to it when I went to uni in like 2010, just watching all the matches that I'd missed out on as a kid on YouTube. So all the ones that I'd always wanted to watch at the time, but didn't have the Sky package.
Yeah.
Like that Triple H Cactus Jack match, Cactus Jack against Randy Orton at Backlash 04.
Nice.
Fucking Undertaker and Kane at the whole Undertaker and Kane storyline when Kane debuted. All the Shawn Michaels stuff that I missed out on. Michaels and Austin at WrestleMania. Basically, I filled my head with all the WWF and WWE stuff that I could. And then beyond that, I got really into New Japan and really into AAA. Especially when WWE was the only mainstream game in town, and New Japan sort of had its big moment about 5 years ago with Omega and Okada. Flawless. And yeah, the thing that got me watching wrestling again, like watching it week on week again, because up until about 2011, I was just sort of, having a big nostalgia trip. Yeah, I was just casual having a nostalgia trip. The thing that got me back into it was, as with a lot of people, the CM Punk pipe bomb on that episode of Raw, and that got me watching it again. But yeah, that was how I got into it and how I went away, and then how I got into it a second time.
Nice, man, nice. So I mean that leads nicely to my next question. Obviously you're talking about that Cactus Jack Triple H, feud, and oddly the last band we spoke to, Swamp Coffin, he referenced the vocalist from that referenced the Cactus Jack Triple H thing as well. So that's some weird symmetry. Mick Foley's certainly my favourite performer of all time. I got to interview him many years ago. Lovely human being.
I bet, yeah.
Yeah, but to you, obviously, this is about you. Your favourite performer of all time?
Well, it's either Mick Foley or The Undertaker.
Nice.
Yeah, Mick Foley. Obviously, I think the both of them are pretty unparalleled. Like, I know who the greatest of all time is. The greatest of all time is not Mick Foley or The Undertaker. It's like one of Chris Jericho, Shawn Michaels, or Ric Flair. Man. It's obviously they're not my favorites, So I'm thinking I'm going to go for The Undertaker, nudging it, just because it's a cool gimmick, and no matter what he did with it, even the Daft Biker stuff, even the American Badass stuff, I loved, and I just. Like, he's responsible for my favorite match ever, which is him and Michaels at WrestleMania 25, which is flawless,
stunning,
utterly flawless,
stunning.
And there's just so many moments, and God, where it's it's amazing. Like Taker against Lesnar at Hell in a Cell, Taker against Shawn Michaels, the early Undertaker stuff, when he was sort of against the tail end of the golden era guys like Ted DiBiase and Psycho Sid and people like that. No, that's not quite as good, but it's still, you go look back at it, you'd be surprised how good it actually is because of the Undertaker, because of Mark Calloway's conviction in the gimmick.
Yes.
So, and I don't think, before he came along, I don't think there was anyone who took on a gimmick that could have been so daft and terrible. It could have been like Kamala or something like that. You know what I mean? Yeah. It could have been Akeem the African. Well, no, that's racist. That was a racist gimmick. But it could have been, something.
It was a weird gimmick. Yeah.
It could have been the Repo Man or something like that, But it wasn't. And it's down to the performer and the fucking seismic charisma of the man. Yeah. And I just think the way it evolved, but still stayed true to the core of the character throughout, it was fascinating to watch. And then I think I'm going to mention Mick Foley a little bit, just because I don't want to just leave him without having expanded on him. Foley, promo wise, no one cut a promo with Obviously there's a load of great promo guys, but no one cuts a promo like Mick Foley when he really gets going. You look at stuff like the Kane Dewey promo or the Mankind interview with Jim Ross, when he gets really intense. And I always prefer his more sort of intense stuff, like comedy Mankind and Dude Love were fun, obviously, and great, but I always preferred it when he was more serious. And he has an unerring ability to, as a baby face, to make you feel really sorry for him, even though he's plainly vicious and plainly terrifying, like as Mankind or as Cactus Jack. You look at, say, Randy Orton spitting in his face, and you feel devastated for him. There's just an intangible sympathy. There's an intangible, real babyface quality of proper sympathy that you get for him. I don't think anyone else does that. And then, of course, it's the moments. It's the Hell in a Cell. It's the fight through the fiery table. It's the Terry Funk death matches. It's the absolutely amazing anti-hardcore stuff in ECW. I could go on and on forever about the Undertaker and Mankind and the Undertaker and Mick Foley and how good they are, and it goes without saying probably, but yeah, they're my two favorites.
Absolutely, man. And maybe you've just answered the next question. Favorite match of all time? So you looking at like the Hell in a Cell, or
there's. I'll go. Well, so we've talked about Hell. No, I'm going to go with my favorite match ever is the Undertaker against Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 25.
Of course,
It's just a flawless story, beautifully told. With a big daft entrance for Shawn Michaels, and obviously the Michaels last match, the one they did at WrestleMania 26, is up there in my top 5 as well, but it's not quite as good. But it's amazing nonetheless. So that's my favorite match of all time. I think two men in the twilight of the Undertaker in the twilight of his full-time career, and Shawn Michaels at the end, coming to the end of his career, wrestling an extraordinary match from a technical perspective, from a storytelling perspective, from a psychological perspective, from a build perspective, and then just in terms of the two characters you've got as well, it's unparalleled. It's flawless.
Stunning.
So that's my favorite match ever.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely, I love that. And are you there's so many more. Are you an AEW person or a WWE person?
I'm an AEW. You know what? I think CM Punk said when he was he did that thing with Conrad Thompson, and he said, I'm not one guy or the other. There's a load of wrestling to watch, and isn't that brilliant? And I kind of try and have that attitude about it. I try and watch I love NWA.
Great.
And I don't watch as much New Japan as I used to, but I like New Japan. I've started picking up AAA again after Triple Mania, and I'll always have a soft spot for WWE in my heart. But I think if I'm anything, I'm an AEW guy. It's just great.
It's
so great. Long term.
It's just about long-term storytelling. You were going to say,
long-term storytelling executed perfectly, but not long-term storytelling that's boring. There's something eventful happening every week. There's something in the road every week that it makes you want to watch it each week, and it makes you cling on to every second of Dynamite. I don't really watch Raw now because it's too long and it's not very good.
It's hard. It's so hard to do when you're doing it live.
I bet. Christ. I watch SmackDown. Mainly for Roman Reigns and the women's division.
Brilliant.
Roman Reigns is just, I never thought, I think Roman Reigns is the best in the world. And 5 years ago, I would have never thought I'd ever find myself saying that.
Same, man. Absolutely.
But I always find with SmackDown, even though it's a lot better than Raw, there's bits that I'm happy to fast forward through or whatever. I never find that with Dynamite or Rampage. Never. I'm clinging on to every bit of it, and I love every character in it. Aside from maybe your Brian Cages or your Nyla Roses, I'm not that big a fan of those, but each to their own, and a lot of people do love them. In short, I'm an AEW guy, and I love it, and I wish it all the success. I hope they slow down on the recruitment a little bit so they can give the characters a bit of space to breathe. I'm looking forward to seeing where Bray Wyatt ends up because I enjoy Impact as well.
I'm a huge Bray fan. One of our longest standing relationships is with Impact Wrestling. We get interviews with Impact Wrestling stars all the time. I'd love to see.
Get Wyndham in. That'd be amazing.
Absolutely. Well, that's my next question. Is there a present day star that obviously you look at Roman Reigns, but is there somebody that excites you in the same way that Mick Foley did back in the day? Is there someone that for you personally you like, I can't get enough of this talent. I can't get enough of this person.
Yeah, so we talked about Bray Wyatt, and obviously he's dominant at the moment.
Yes.
I think he's been, obviously he's been booked like a star repeatedly, but at the same time, his talent and his creativity is such that he's been criminally underused, if you know what I mean. He's been booked terribly, but his star power shines through. So there's Wyatt, wherever he ends up. There's John Moxley, who I think is, he's getting a little bit lost in the shuffle at the moment. I'd like to see him move back up the card, but I think Moxley's superb. He's really come into his own, being able to do the work he's done in AEW. I think Kenny Omega's on like the fifth. This is like the fifth time he's been on the run of his life.
He's amazing.
He's doing great work. I love Minoru Suzuki.
Oh, he's so high. He's like, was it? I heard monster. Someone described him. Was it Murder Grandpa?
Yeah, that's a great way to describe him.
Yeah, I like that.
Bang on the money. I love Becky Lynch. I love Bianca Belair. I think that those two are absolute stars, and obviously WWE's got, like, without question, the best women's division in the world, and that's it.
I agree.
There's no question in that. Asuka, I love. If I had to narrow it down, I'd probably say Moxley, Bray Wyatt, and Becky Lynch are the three that sort of excite me in that same way.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
And Roman Reigns with the work he's doing now.
He's amazing. Reigns is fantastic, man. Absolutely fantastic. Couple more questions then before we finish. If you could put together a sort of a Battery Farm pay-per-view, where you could pull together a couple of matches, what would be? Give me a couple of your dream matches, and we can go across the board. So across eras,
we can do whatever we want.
Yeah, across eras, across companies. Who would be your two dream matches, and who would be in those? Right.
So for the NWA Heavyweight Championship,
the
£10 of gold.
£10 of gold. Yeah.
I'd go for NWA era Dusty Rhodes versus the Undertaker in the main event.
Oh, class! Yeah.
How good would that be? And then I'd have the Bucks. I'd have a triangle TLC match. So I'd have the Bucks, the Rock and Roll Express, and the Dudley Boys for, let's say, I don't know, the WWE Tag Team titles or whatever.
Nice.
Then I'd have Sting against Mankind, just to see how that goes. Bryan Danielson against Kurt Angle on it as well. I'd have Becky Lynch against Bull Nakano.
Yes.
Which would be amazing.
Yes.
And then I'd have peak era Aja Kong against Charlotte Flair as well. I think they'd put on a great match. Beautiful. And you only told me a name too. I'm going off.
Give me that. I love it, man.
And then I would I'd open. So that's my show in reverse order basically, and then I'd open it with a really good. So I've got Angle and Danielson on the card, and I'd open it with another really good sort of mid card technical wrestling match. I'd have Ricky Steamboat against. Put you on the spot, haven't I? Yeah, shit. You know what? He's not mid card, but I'd just go straight up and have WrestleMania 3, Ricky Steamboat and Randy Savage to open the show with.
Yes, yeah.
Start off hot.
Yeah, classic, man, classic. All right, brilliant. To finish off, if you could rip away the theme song of any existing performer and replace it with a Battery Farm track, who's your performer to soundtrack, and what track are you using?
Oh, I was going to say CM Punk, but I can't do that. It's Bray Wyatt.
Nice.
And I'd go with something similar to. I'd go with a song of ours called "Crude Oil Water."
Cool.
Which is it's a lot more. It's more staccato-y and sort of more vigorous than that Matt Crozer and Durrell's song that he had originally was. But I'd go with that, and yeah, it'd be Crude Oil Water to soundtrack Bray Wyatt's entrance.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely, that sounds cool. All right, so this is the bit where you can plug anything you want. So, what is your message for any wrestling fans who may be discovering the Battery Farm through this or other mediums? What is your message for anybody who wants to get into the Battery Farm, who hasn't found you yet, wrestling fans or otherwise? What have you got to say to people discovering you, and also, I guess, people have supported you and will continue to do so?
Yeah. Fans fans not yet had, I say our second EP, Dirty Den's March of Suffering, is out on the 15th of October on Blindside Records. If you can't wait that long, our first EP, Endless Unstoppable Pain, smiley face emoji, is on Spotify all over the place. So go and listen there. We've also got 4 singles on there as well that were released before that. If you like the sound of that, then what you should do is go on to our Linktree. That's linktree.com/The Battery Farm, and buy tickets to our EP launch at Gulliver's in Manchester on the 16th of October. We're headlining it, obviously, but we've got The Ombudsman, Woman You Stole, and 7 Summers and a Whole Lot of Nothing as support as well, all of whom are great, and you should check those out. And we're also, so we had a poet called Genevieve Walsh hosting it, but sadly she wasn't able to do it. Sorry, they, non-binary, sorry, they weren't able to do it. So we had a character that we created for the first EP called Darren Smiley that we killed off. And basically we're having him host it, and we've got sort of some videos and shit that we've made to intro the band, but he's going to be hosting it. So get tickets to that, 16th of October at Gulliver's. And if you want to go a step further, friends, you can pre-order the vinyl version of Dirty Den's March of Suffering on the batteryfarm.com/shop, with which, if you order the Dirty Book package, you get a copy of the Dirty Book, a book of short stories by me and Dom, and some other little goodies in there as well, like badges and posters and stuff. That's it. I'm all plugged out.
Fantastic. Well, Ben, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. I'm sure this won't be the last time we get together and talk wrestling or music. Sure. Honestly, mate, I'm so excited by your band. I wish you all the best. I think you've got a great sound and a great message. So I wish you all the best of luck. And thank you so much for coming on. Really appreciate it, dude.
Thank you so much for having me. Really, really enjoyed it. Thank you.